Hi, I'm Julie. Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. And this is my guest, Kalika. Kalika, can you please introduce yourself and let us know what's going on, what you got into, how you got into multi-level marketing and all that. This is your story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kalika. I joined multi-level marketing in 2015. I joined the company WorldVentures, which was a travel company. It technically no longer exists as it was back then. And I joined, at the time I was 25. I was finishing up college. I was studying cognitive science. So this is like brain science, and so that's what really appealed to the personal development side of me. I really loved that stuff that came from network marketing. And I was pre-optometry at the time, but I wasn't thrilled about it. I felt like I was kind of just doing it because I was supposed to. Coming from an Indian background, most of the time you're expected to go into the medical profession or into engineering or something like that. So I felt like I was kind of doing good, but going down a path I wasn't super over the moon about. I think that's one of the things that kind of drew me in, because what I first saw was a mutual friend, and it worked. The curiosity posts online, they worked on me. I saw a mutual friend post a picture with my best friend and saying how she was so excited to travel the world and make money with her friends and go on these awesome vacations, and they're so excited for everything to come. And I'm like, I want to go on vacation with my best friend. What are they doing, And so I Googled it, I looked it up, and I found the generic, not an opportunity video, but just like one of those teaser videos that they have, and I looked it up, and I found their own website. So obviously everything you find on their own website is what they have put out, but it really doesn't give you any actual information, And so then the next time I went up to visit my best friend, I asked her about it. I'm like, what is this thing that you're doing? And so she shows me the opportunity video, and she actually wasn't going to show it to me. She had decided that she was going to keep it from me until she was successful with it, because she thought that I would be skeptical. And so she was not going to show me, but I was excited to do something with my best friend, and I had just transferred to a new college. Again, I was a little bit older than all the kids that were in school with me. So I think there was a little piece of me that was also looking for community and something to do with my friends and a group of people that I really resonated with, not a bunch of college kids that were 6 years younger than me, And so I watched the video. And I'm like, cool, sign me up. I was like, so essentially it was a travel club, and the product was memberships to the travel club. You'd pay your membership to the travel club, and then you'd get access to these amazing vacations at these really, really low prices. And so you could join for there's 3 tiers of membership. Essentially, it was silver, gold, and platinum or something like that. And it was $100 down, $200 down, or $300 down, and then either 25, 50, or $100 a month. So there you go, your initial payment, your down payment, and then your auto ship, essentially. And so then, and then if you wanted to do the business, you could add on your RBS, registered business system, or whatever that stood for, on the side. As a student, it was only $7 or $8. I think normally it was $25 a month to keep your business system. So I'm like, cool, let's do it. And she's like, really? She didn't even know how to sign me up. She had never really shown anybody. So she calls, and I'm gonna say upline, because even though my best friend was technically my sponsor, she never really built and never really took the role of an upline, So she called the girl who had posted that initial picture, and was like, I want to sign someone up. And she's like, who are you signing up? And she's like, Kalika. I was like, oh shit, okay, well, let's do it, So I get it. That's how I joined, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but what next, right? You've filled something out online. It's not a tangible product, right? So you're getting this back office system, but it's not like I'm immediately going on vacation or anything like that. It's not like I immediately know how to build a business. And I got in, and then about a week later, I get a phone call from the upline, and she wants to talk to me about going to an event at the end of the month. So I had signed up in January, And I think it was January 9th or something. And there was an event at the end of January, and she's trying to get me to go. Oh, hi, Kitty. And I'm like, I start school that same week. Like, I'm not going to like go to Louisville, Kentucky randomly my first day of school, you know? So she calls me. Little do I know that she has her upline on the call as a third party, like essentially to get you, I don't want to say bully, but to basically hard sell you on coming to this event. And so
She
that's,
didn't, so you didn't know she was on the line.
yeah. And it was this guy, her upline was this guy. He was like the first director on our team, like the first bigger rank on our team. So I didn't know he was on the phone. And so it was like a third party call, you know, because we were taught to do those third party calls without even like really asking a prospect if they're okay with it. It was like that kind of deal. Like we didn't know he was on the phone. And suddenly he's like, I was like, who is this guy? And he's kind of basically saying like, well, if you don't come, like you're just going to set yourself behind in starting your business until the next event, which is 3 months from now. And like, why would you want to lose all that time, you know? And I got off the call so frustrated, but I had been talked into going by some guy that I didn't know. And I was so angry that I was talked into going, but I was like, oh my God, he got me to go. It was just the weirdest feeling. It was like the beginning of the cognitive dissonance. You know what I mean? And then I went and I had so many questions. Those events are so confusing. Like, I really want to dig into just what happened at those 3-day events because it is crazy. But essentially, I got in and I decided, I told her that I was going to do this. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it a year. I'm going to go all in and give it a year. And I mean, and that's what I did. That first year is like just a blur of all the, now I'm understanding, just getting deeper and deeper, like into the cult, you know what I mean? It was probably my best year. And that was my first year. But at the end of the first year, you've already, again, invested so much. You think you've had a little amount of success. If I just keep going, this will get better. But it was like my best year. And what I can remember is I did go on a lot of trips. Like the trips that they had were incredible. They were fun. I had a lot of fun. I met my partner on my first dream trip that I went on. And that, again, sealed the deal for me because now I had like this emotional connection. Again, that became my story that was then now exploited to keep me in the group and then, you know, entice other people. Like, oh my gosh, look, if you're single, you can go on a dream trip and you might meet the love of your life. And like, do you know what I mean? Like, there were so many things like that happened. And yeah, I mean, after that year was over, I don't even remember like checking in with myself and being like, the year's over. Where are you at? How much money have you spent? How much money have you made? You know, like what's going on? I do remember it was just a lot of falling down the personal development hole. Again, like I said, I was studying like psychology and brain science. And so stuff like that was like, it felt like it kind of tied in. And I was like, why doesn't the rest of the world know about this? Well, it's because it hasn't been backed by scientific actual evidence. And that's why I wasn't learning it in college. This is all pseudoscience that I was like, it goes right along with what, if I could just prove that this stuff is right, you know what I mean? Like if I could just like prove that these principles are right by working hard enough on myself, like that was the mindset I was in. I fell really, really deep in that hole. Like I was just reading so much personal development, consuming all the content that I could that the company put out to build my business to get better. And essentially I just bought the belief that if I worked on myself enough and reached out to enough people, and I could make it work, you know? And it's funny because I went on that first trip, that same trip that I met Kelly on. I saw the leaders on the same trip with me. And that's when it like got me, because that's when I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like that's when it hit me. I was like, these are all my peers. We're all in our 20s. They have financial freedom. They're able to go on all these trips. And it's like, that's what sealed the deal for me, that it was real. And it's funny because when I got objections too from people outside, they would be like, is that really real? And I'd just scoff at them, be like, of course it's real. I've been on so many of these trips. What do you mean? Of course it's real. Not to mention the whole business is fake. The trips themselves were real, but like that's what they use to legitimize the whole thing, like the products, you know? Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of, and now I look at it as behavior control, you know, changing how you dress, Kalika, you can't just look like, like a yogi, maybe you need to look more like a business person, or like things like that, changing how I talk to people. I noticed it became normal to be like, yeah, sometimes when you start to have success here, you lose all your friends that don't get it, like you, all your friends become the people that are part of this family, like, and you realize how dangerous all those ideas are, but I embraced all of them. That company was probably failing since 2017. And then this is where like the information control piece comes in for me, because nobody knew. There was a bunch of different stories floating around about why. They had said there was some fraud in Asia. They had tried to launch a product that had nothing to do with travel. It was like this little credit card that was supposed to like consolidate all your credit cards, but it was like, they're like, it's first to market, when it was already like Apple Pay was already like being invented. It was already obsolete. You know what I mean? But they had us all buy these beta cards, essentially just making more money off of a different product from their same customer base, trying to keep this company afloat. They had events every 90 days to keep us coming back and just bringing more people to events. And I never ranked really high. So like for me, it was all about the travel. So I just sold a bunch of travel memberships. So like, I mean, I wouldn't say I was like bad at it. I think I sold about 50 memberships, which is, I think, really good. But I didn't build a team. Like I would recruit one person and then they'd fall off, or I'd recruit a couple people and they'd fall off. And everything in the comp plan was based off of recruitment, essentially. It was a binary. The first real rank of residual income, where you make like a couple $100 each month off of essentially everybody in your organization who's paying their dues, you would need 30 people on each leg to hit the first rank. And so if I had to do that just selling products, I would have had to sell 60 memberships and keep them all in, or recruit people who are also recruiting people. And, so it was much easier to get to that point if you were like building a team. And I never actually did. And so I never really ranked up, which meant that none of the important information reached me, how, and like the top knows all the shitty stuff that's going on, and the next level knows only a fraction of it, and the next level only knows a fraction of it, because the higher up you go, the more you have to deceive everybody below you. And it's like, I was at the bottom, so I didn't know. Like I didn't know. I didn't know the company was failing for so long. I was just, maybe I didn't want to see it, but that information never reached the front line, because you can't let the front line know that the company is failing. Otherwise, everything is going to topple over. And we were doing like a party plan too, which made no sense because we didn't have like a product, but we like, travel parties were the way that we were taught to like go into people's living rooms and like pitch them. And so one of my uplines, who bought his position into the company, started doing social media and was like, oh, you should check out Rank Makers. This is where you can learn how to do social media. Like, never mind that the company's failing. Like, I'm over here like working harder and harder and harder, thinking, let me just keep going. It's like, of course, like the company was literally stopped being able to pay its reps, stopped being able to pay its vendors. They were bleeding money everywhere. So it's like the company itself was failing. I'm over here trying to pitch it and make it work. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't do living rooms, but maybe I could do social media. So I get into freaking Rank Makers, $20 a month. And I think that he was teaching something that was helpful. Looking back, it was like, yes, he was talking about social media where I didn't want to be in a living room, but like, you're still not learning social media marketing. You're learning how to cold message people and harass people online and post really annoying content. And like, I mean, yes, there's like little bits of things that I've learned, like to make sure the text on my shirt is facing the right way. but it was like, now looking back, and this was before he like went off on the tangents that he's gone off on now. He was actually talking, I felt like, about social media. And this was 2019, I think, when I like started doing that. And then when did it happen? So I'm like, I didn't go to Rank Makers 2019. That upline was trying to make me go, but I had just found I had just joined Rank Makers. I was like, I don't even know if I caught it online that year. I might have caught the next one. but I'm like doing the social media stuff. I'm feeling really productive, but like it's not really yielding very many results. But at least I'm doing the action steps. Look how many people I'm prospecting. Look how much I'm posting. Oh my God, I've gone live so many times. Nothing like every single day, but like I had never gone live before that. And then I noticed a shift in my company where they're going to start selling products from Seacret Direct, which is another MLM. And I'm like, this is like weird, but like, okay. Turns out that I forget what happened. Yeah, it turns out that WorldVentures was going to merge with Seacret. That's what they told us. WorldVentures was going to merge with Seacret. This was like, I think it was still before the pandemic, but like during the beginning of the pandemic. I forget exactly when I joined Inner Circle because I was doing the rank maker stuff, but then that upline was like, well, I've joined Inner Circle and it's helped me with this, 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 and this. And so then I'm like, shit, now I have to learn how to sell products. I'm like, I'm in a product-based company because essentially what they did is they merged the downlines. And they said the companies were going to merge. So like the tree of WorldVentures just went into the tree of Seacret. And like now I was selling skincare with travel to come, maybe. And it was like really weird. And I think that's around the time where I'm like, shit, I need a coach because I have no idea how to sell products. And like maybe this will help me transition. So then I signed up for Inner Circle Coaching, which is, Ray's coaching program. I was paying about $500 a month, I think, for that. For not super long, maybe like 4 to 6 months. I ended up like I was like, I can't afford this for what I was getting. And like my coach is great. She's a great person. I hope that she's out. I feel like she did help me learn how to kind of pitch products a little bit, but like, again, yielding no results, and paying that much for like 2 30-minute phone calls. It just wasn't doing it for me. Again, this was like mid-pandemic now. The companies had merged. I had moved from California to Colorado. I was I was bartender, which my job disappeared like overnight. So I'm like trying to figure out like a new industry. Like, again, I was just desperate and vulnerable at that time, and I was like just going deeper. Like, and this is what happens. And this is why I feel like, I mean, I don't care about the money. It's the fact that people are so manipulated to think that there's something wrong with them, that they have to continue giving someone else money to fix this, where there are problems that aren't fixable. Pandemic was not fixable. That company failing is not fixable. You know what I mean? And I couldn't really run with the products. I couldn't. And so I just kind of like stopped, and I like kind of started fading out. But I still believed in the industry. I still wanted to believe that the opportunity was real, but like something sat so wrong with me after watching how that company fell apart. And since I've done a ton of research, and like that's one of the videos that I do want to put out. I want to put out a timeline of exactly what happened, because there's people that still believe that company and that CEO were just a godsend. And I'm like, you still don't realize that we are brainwashed by this person. This person literally scammed you. Like, and yeah. And so that was essentially my stint with all of that. After that company fell, I was like, I might, start to look for a different company. Let me see if I can find something else that I like, works for me. But something about the opportunity, just something about network marketing was just like, I don't know, it just felt icky. And then because I had studied cognitive science, and then I had worked in the mental health field, and my goal, like what my passion is, to create resources for people to help take care of their mental health, like simple things that people can do to, like, and I don't mean like buy a course, I mean like learning breath work and going outside for a walk, and like what to eat to make your brain feel good, like shit like that. And like that's my passion. So I started branding myself as a mental wellness coach. Well, I get prospected by the mental wellness company. I don't know if you've heard of Amare Global.
Oh, yes.
And I started to get sucked in. I was like, oh, well, let me try these products. And I did, and whatever, it was fine. I'm spending $140 on products that you could probably get anywhere else. And then they start doing these masterminds. And at first I was like, oh, I've been looking for a mastermind. So mastermind of women, product-based. And they're just talking about like things you can do for your mental health. Like I said, go outside, take a walk, or like do, cook or do something you enjoy, like whatever. And at first I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then the women on the calls are like talking about giving these products to like children, or like talking about ADHD, or talking about like, I'm like, this doesn't seem right, right? And at one point, of course, my sponsor in that other company was like, "Oh, I can waive your fee to become a rep," and so I'm gonna do that at one point. So she did. So then technically I was a rep, and then I joined like the business masterminds. Then I started hearing how they were like pitching that, and it was essentially, and this is the pattern I've seen with Amare, is you take something vulnerable about your mental health, and then you say that these products have helped, and it's like the craziest health claims. And I'm like, this does not work with what I believe in. This is like, there's too much of a difference. And so I like, again, phased out of that. I was back in California. So my dad passed last year. And I knew it was coming. I had been going back to California a lot. And so I went over there to spend time with him I knew it was like time, I had gotten the call, my brother's like, come home. And so I'd prepared to, take some time off work and just be there with my family. So it was really hard. It was like a vigil, when someone's about to pass, you're essentially there, but there's not much that you can do. And it was, of course, very hard. So I was like on my phone, like going down random rabbit holes because I needed like things to like distract me. And so I was like going down like a true crime rabbit hole. And then I come across Jenny Wild and Jen Ryla. And I'm like, I hadn't seen Jen's face since Inner Circle. And I'm like, she's making it anti-MLM content. I'm like, what did I miss here? I'm like, what? And I was still in the mind of like that brainwash, like thinking that this business doesn't work is like a difference of opinion, not like truth. You know what I mean? So I just like fell down the rabbit hole. Like I went so deep down. And I think I came across your interview with Erin and Julie Joe with her. And I think when she said how much she was making versus how much we were paying for Inner Circle is when like the biggest crack started happening. And I think as much as it sucked to be going through what I was going through at that time, because I was going through such a major life change, I was like reevaluating everything. I had taken a step back from everything, like for people, from network marketing, from everything. Like I was like losing a parent, I was going through like a really tough time. But I think the fact that I had created that space and that distance to process what I was going through allowed me to step back enough to like hear what people in the anti-MLM community were saying, as opposed to just saying, oh, they're just like a hater, because like previously, anytime anyone left my company or people started speaking out, I would essentially just like stop following their content because I couldn't take in that information that conflicted with the business that I was building and what I believed in. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, they really are all pyramid schemes. Holy fuck. Like, oh my God. And then discovering the whole cult aspect of everything and how much I care about people's mental health. And I'm like, people need to be taught to protect themselves against this. And it's so freaking dangerous because it's not just like one company operates like the cult. It's like the whole industry. And it's like a self-perpetuating organism. There's no one person you can like point the finger at and blame, it's like it just keeps going. And so that is initially what kind of like led me out. And then I just consumed enough content to where I like technically was still in WorldVentures, because they will take your money as long as you just, I was still technically in Seacret, and I was still technically in Amare. And I was like, okay, all right, I need to call in, cancel everything, like just, and then that's when I did that. Was probably like August, September, maybe of last year. yeah, and that's pretty much it. And since then, I've literally had to keep doing so much research. So I protect myself from falling back into that mindset, because you know, when somebody does so want to come to you and like debate, um, you're like, oh shit, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe it was just this company. Maybe there are good ones out there, you know? And so that, I mean, that's what led me here. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I've done some healing. I know there's a lot more to do, but I do have a lot of things I want to say, and I can't wait to say them perfectly, because I don't know if I'll be able to articulate what I'm feeling right now in 3 months, or where I'll be in 3 months, or whatever. So that's why I'm here.
Wow, that was amazing. You've already done it all articulated so perfectly. And however anybody articulates it in whatever fashion they do, whether it's on an interview or making a post, like it is perfectly. And there's a number of things that you said as you're telling your story that really leapt out to me. At the beginning, you were aware. So first off, you're taking psychology courses. Like you are, this is something that is it's important to you. You're studying it, and you have that, there's that vulnerability. And it's interesting because there was like a vulnerability that is like preyed upon, but it's also like a vulnerability that created space for you to start thinking, that led you out too.
Mm-hmm.
But from that beginning, that guy on that phone call, it didn't sit right with you. And that stood out. That's like, I don't know if you've heard Yanya Lalich. She talks about like a shelf in the back of your mind.
I
That
actually haven't. I've heard you mention it, but I haven't heard her speak on it.
So she has a book, it's called Take Back Your Life, and it's written with Madeline Tobias. And she talks about this shelf on the back of your mind, and all these little things like pile up. And I think it's interesting how it's like one of those things. When I went to get therapy, I was telling my psychologist, like I'd have a night, like, I remember this. And he was like, that's one of those things. And it's like, to me, that sounds like that's one of those, like it stands out to you. It was enough that even at the beginning, that stood out to you and you knew it. And I think also what I wanted to mention is that while taking in anti-MLM content, like you led yourself out. You gave yourself space to also critically think.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that, you know, that it's empowering for you to, you know, own that, because you did. Well, you started to, you know, had that space with your dad. And I'm so sorry about your dad passing. My deepest condolences.
Thank you.
Never mind, we're starting to wake up. And what the hell of a distraction that is, to start looking at anti-MLM content. So you have like the passing of your father, and then the family members around, and all this grief, and then you're learning this. Holy fuck! But you did that.
Yeah.
That was you that chose to do that. So I just want to give that credit where credit is due.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. It was like I literally had to like get so into something that would so wholly distract me. And the fact that I was like, oh my God, I think I was in a pyramid scheme and a cult was like a big enough thing to be like, okay, like not to like take my mind off of obviously what was happening, but like I could consume that for hours. Like I was sat there and I like read John Taylor's like whole, like not the whole 500-page study, but I did get a couple hundred pages into that. Like I was reading, like I was just, you know, and I'm really glad, because it's like, you know, they tell you not to do any research and you just believe them. Like, and again, that upline that told me on the phone, like that got me to go to the event, was the same person that, after the event, I had like a million questions. And see, this is the thing. My entire life, I've been like a scientist. I've been a very analytical, logical person. And that is almost demonized in MLM, to the point of like, they poke fun at people that are logical, and they just.
Ray does. Jesus Christ, Ray did in fucking Rank Makers. Oh my God, he doesn't. Oh, you want to know what the ingredients are? Try Glycanol, whatever. He totally does it. And then you're right. They also say about the green personality.
Yeah, I'm a green personality, and of course it's like, I remember after that conference, I came back and I had so many questions. I think I mentioned this to you before. Like that's the other piece of the cognitive dissonance that was there, where I was like, because the model was like, oh, you know, if you refer 4 friends, you get your membership for free. And I'm like, if I refer 4 friends, and yeah, I have 4 friends I want to travel with, and I'm sure everybody has 4 friends they want to travel with. But I'm like, if everybody's getting their membership for free, like, how does the company stay afloat? And it was like, it just does. Like, they were getting like my upline and then that director, they were just getting so frustrated with me, and they'd continue to joke about how many questions I asked when I first started, and like, but I kept going, and like and again with the conferences, like the whole like, I don't know what podcast it was, but where they were like, when you stay in a situation that makes no sense for long enough, your mind starts to come up with reasons for why you're staying in that situation. That's pretty much what happens on day 3 of those events, which is insane. But like that happened to me. Like, right, like I asked a bunch of questions, but I stayed. And then it became a story of like, oh look, like Kalika was so hard to convince, but like now look at her, she's a rock star, she just does all this, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And it became part of the story. It's like that cognitive dissonance was there from like the very beginning. Like I remember being like, how exactly does this work? Well, don't worry about it, it just does. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy. And it's like disproving like the fact that there's so much evidence out there to disprove that this will work statistically in any company, the fact that they can get you to just not do any other research is mind-blowing. And since then, since actually being in like real sales, since actually starting my own business, I'm like, you don't have to do any of these things to be successful. You don't have to deceive people into giving you their business. If people want to work with you, they will work with you. If people want what you have, you don't have to convince them. Like, yes, you can be a better salesperson than somebody else. Like, I mean, communicative skills and all those things, like, they do matter. But I'm just saying, like, the amount of deception and like convincing and like all the stuff that goes into it, it's like you realize like you were taught that was sales, but it's like that all that is really just indoctrination. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah, from the first phone call, there was deception for you. Like you were booby trapped. You were ambushed in that phone call by this person, by this upline, this dude on the phone. Like that's not okay. And then that behavior, it's like, oh, it's like there's so many things involved with signing up into a multi-level marketing company. So you look at WorldVentures, look at the amount of winkling around they had to do to make it okay for their reps. So they're withholding information from people, the front line, which is the bulk of the pyramid, and they merge with Seacret. All of a sudden now you're like, maybe people didn't want to sell products. They just really like travel. And it's like, now all of a sudden you're a skincare company. Like what? And then there's this credit card thing. What? Like what's going on? It's like, don't ask questions. The FTC, if you look on the FTC website, it says like, what is the difference between multi-level marketing companies and pyramid schemes? Of course, this is this weird ambiguous because of the way they describe pyramid schemes is every single multi-level marketing company. But they say, ask questions, do research. You are going into business, so you need to treat it like a business. Talk with past distributors. They encourage you to ask questions, but yet when you are in it, this is where there's a gap because the FTC saying, well, treat it like a business. Well, these aren't businesses, they're commercial cults. When you're told, well, don't ask. You're made to feel there's something wrong with you. And then we believe there's something wrong with us for asking even the most basic business questions, which is what you should be doing. Everything is asked backwards. You were shamed and you believed that there's something wrong and you weren't. You were right from the beginning.
It literally was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wish I'd never asked about it. You know what I mean? Like listen, I don't have nothing against my upline and that director. Again, I hope they get out. I'm trying to have like that empathetic view of it. They're both still deep in probably multiple different companies, like, and who knows if they ever will, because I think it does take a lot of courage to admit that you made a mistake, and not everybody's going to be willing to do that. And if that's all that especially like the team that I was on was like called the Rat Pack, retired at 20. These are all kids.
Retired at 20. Oh my God. That's awesome.
Retired at 20. If you're over 20, it was retired at 30. If you're over 30, it's retired and thankful. Because obviously you don't want to just recruit 20.
You're just old fuckers. It's like you're just retired and thankful. You're too old to have a cool name.
But
World
like
Ventures.
all these kids never went into the workforce. A lot of these people never went into the workforce. A lot of these people dropped out of college to do this.
Oh God.
And so it's all they know.
Of course.
And so I can't, it's just sad to see people company hop, because essentially that company went under silently, very confusingly. People ended up in different companies. People still are in Seacret. Now, and this is again something I'll cover, but WorldVentures was the company, DreamTrips was the product, right? Now, old executives of WorldVentures have relaunched the company as DreamTrips International. So now it's another active MLM.
No.
With absolutely absurd startup costs. Like I told you, it was $100, $200, $300, and like 20, 50, and 100. Now they're trying to sell like 5, 7. I saw one package that was like 1,500 business build. For what? You're not even getting product. You're literally, you might get a trip with that. I mean, I'll have to look more into it, but like they have resurrected the company. And like my roommate literally just got pitched for it the other day. Which is why I was like,
that's hilarious, especially
I'm
being
like,
with you. You're like, well,
he's like, I almost gave him your number. I was like, please don't do that.
yeah.
Like, please don't. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, it's like, no.
But like they're continuing the thing, and these people are continuing to get duped, and it's just so sad that like everyone just either goes on to start their own company or create a new one or jump in at the top of the one or start coaching because they understand that like that's what you have to do to make it work, but they still don't understand that the entire system is like a scam. Like just because you're making money like doesn't mean it's not a scam. Like even in any scam, the scammer is making money. Like so someone, if you scam me, I mean, 50% of the people are making money, right? Like, and
That's
the
right.
chances in an MLM are 99% that I'm going to lose money. You know what I mean? So it's even worse than just being scammed by one person. It's like it's happening on this massive scale. And like, just because it works. And like, that was one of the things my roommate heard was like, well, yeah, any business can fail. Because, like, so what you're doing is not much different than what I'm doing. He's like, no, I'm like building a real company. You're a rep. But it's like it's so sad that people just continue to get taken advantage of. There's not like one singular person to blame, and like that's why I feel like what we're doing here is so important, because the more that people can speak out and more that people hear this information hopefully can prevent them. I'd like to reach people that are in and kind of create some cracks, but like I know better than to openly debate. So I'm like that's why this is good. Like I'm like, I want to create my own content. I'm not going to go out there and like comment on other people's stuff, but I want to create like my like other people, as in like people like that are in MLM. But I want to
You already are. You are.
contribute to the conversation.
Even when you leave a comment, that is powerful because people know you and they're looking just like you were. The content, like you came across Jenny Wild, Jennifer Ryla, and that got you, and this is you are doing the same thing, even when you're leaving a comment, but like doing this, whatever you do, however people are just, even if you have left a comment and then you just like post a picture that you're gardening or something, people see that you're living your life. Like it's just, you are making a difference already. And I want you to know,
Thank you.
I will support you.
Thank you.
The anti-MLM movement, as you can see, it's just growing and getting stronger. There's more safe spaces for people to speak out. And so you have people that have your back, you're not on this.
No, I love that.
Because it was good for me too, because I'm like, holy fuck, it can be, I mean, you see how these things happen. You see how people get. Yeah.
And, and I know you talk a lot about, Ray and rank makers, and it's helping me understand so much of what we were taught was essentially going on live video and learning to emotionally or religiously manipulate people. The emotional manipulation piece is big because I feel like anyone can use it. Everyone is taught to use their trauma to sell a product, which you're taught that that's good marketing. And it's like, you don't need to talk about your personal life to market a business. Like you don't. And then the religious aspect I actually want to touch on also, because different than obviously what Ray's doing, but it runs so deep in the MLM spaces. I do want to share. So we went to our first convention, and they have a church service at our convention, or they had one, an optional non-denominational church service on Sunday mornings before the session started. And I'm like, all right, I'm Indian. Okay, first of all, I grew up Hindu, right? And I've heard other anti-MLM content creators ask, like, what happens if you're not a Christian and you're surrounded in this huge, like, Christian environment, you know? And it didn't really affect me very much because I'm not like a practicing Hindu. Like, I grew up in California, and it's not like that. Like, I know some things, but it's not like that serious. Like, I'm not like very religious, and I don't have any problem with Christianity. Like, I've studied the Bible. I've learned the story. I've learned whatever. I don't really identify as anything, but I was like, I don't really want to go to church. Don't really feel like it. Like, I'm in Kentucky. I have school. I'm running on no sleep. We're on day 3. Like, why would I wake up early and go to church when I'm not like religious, right? And so I didn't go to church, but like, it was kind of frowned upon, that I didn't go to church, because everyone else was going to church, because they all are these like God-fearing people who act like they do no wrong. But there's like this weird culty energy where they want everyone to be the same. Like, you should go to church, like, And so then the next event, like, I checked it out. I didn't really want to go, but me and my best friend, we went, and they said it was non-denominational, and we're halfway through, and then the dude who's also like a top leader who's giving the sermon is essentially saying that if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to go to hell. And I'm like, me and my best friend like walked out. I'm like, I don't need to be listening to this. Not that if you believe that, like, cool, but like, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, this isn't what I came here for, And then the next event was like a personal development one in Hawaii. This was like a deep dive, like, really, like, they wanted to get into every aspect of your life and help you like fix it, which I didn't realize was just a massive red flag. But like, it's like day 2, and they have these sessions going really long. He's like, I want to do like some of the most intense stuff at night when you're tired, so they can break you down. This whole idea of you got to be broken down to have your breakthroughs type of thing. He's literally having us list the 10 commandments in this session as part. So like, this was a 5-day intensive like training where we all got this binder, and we're like working through this binder of personal development. A lot of it's like interpersonal stuff. A lot of it's like, how would you deal with this situation, whatever. And then I wonder if I still have it. I wish I did. I wonder if I have it. And then he's like, now we're going to talk about religion. And I'm like, and then they ask us to list the 10 commandments in this. And I'm like, sitting there fuming. And I'm one of like maybe 1 or 2 people that's like not participating. I'm like, we should not be talking about religion. We should not be talking about religion here. And everyone's just doing the exercise. And the trainer, who is the director of training for the entire company, is like just staring me down. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm not doing this. And he's just staring me down. But like, even though that happened, like, I left that session and we were in Hawaii, we were in Maui, and by chance, one of my best friends who was like outside the cult, but like, I was trying to recruit her obviously, but she happened to be in Hawaii at the same time at the resort next to mine. So I'm like, I need to get away from these people and go find my friend. So I met her on the beach, and she's like, what is going on with you? Like, she's like, because I was like all jumbled from all this religious stuff. And she's like, what is going on with you? Because she knew me. We went to college together. She knows I'm like, again, like a scientist, like an analytical person, like like, I believe in evolution, for example. And like, they were like, no, that's not real. And I'm like, okay, like, you know,
Because pyramid schemes are also real. It's real. If you believe it, it's real.
and she's like, what is going on with you? And, you know, I talked through it. I talked through it with her and she helped me calm down a bit. But like, long story is I still stayed in despite that happened. So somewhere in my mind, I like reconciled. And I even started becoming a little, like, I started believing in the stuff that they were saying, you know? And even in the community that we were in, it was like, you should go to church. You should do this. Oh, why are you dating your boyfriend? And why aren't you guys married yet? You know, things like I'm like, why are you guys projecting all of this stuff on our relationship? You know, and that's why I wanted to mention the religious stuff, because there's a deep theme of that, and I know like every company has their own version of that, but like that stuff runs really really deep in MLMs, and it's really sad because if you are a believer, which a lot of these people are, they end up preying on that, and then everything you do is in, you know, is for God, is for Jesus Christ, and then that's how you justify all of the shitty things that you're doing. Like you claim you're helping people, you claim you're a servant leader, like you could, you know, just be like Jesus. You know, it's like no, like that in itself is cognitive dissonance. Like Jesus wouldn't be okay with scams. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like they make it all okay, and that theme is so deep. And that's why I feel like it's so important what you're doing, speaking out about like Ray and his religious thing, because there's so many people that are just eating it up because they believe in, or they're Christians, or they believe in a certain, I don't know, believe something he can prey on with whatever brand of religion that he's he's
Yes.
showing, you know.
If God is the ultimate authority, and so you're already you already gaslight yourself. You think that everything is, if your failure, it's your own. And now you're going to have God's judgment. So that means now you're, you know, you believe that you sign up with Amare or Bravenly or Modair. God has put it on your heart to sign up with Monet. And now you don't show up to do a live video every day. You don't show up to go to your company's event. You're letting down your mission. God has put it on you and you are failing God. Like, I can't even imagine how heavy and how messed up people are going to be as they start to wake up from this. Like it's bad enough. I don't even want to like compare trauma. It's challenging enough just waking up and realizing what you've been a part of. You're not even like, you know, you're don't really have like a religious affiliation like Hindu, but you're getting sucked in because you're in a cult. And so people that this is their faith, oh my gosh, they're going to have to be like questioning everything then, because it sinks in and it's like those roots get so intertwined.
Well, that's why I don't think they'll be able to get out. A lot of people. I mean, it's sad. I wish they could, but like when this is so intertwined with your religious beliefs, it requires a lot of dismantling of your entire structural belief system that I just don't think that a lot of people are going to be able to do, willing to do, or have the awareness to realize that they need to do. Or it's just so sad that so many people get preyed upon. Like, I was thinking, I was like, I really wish I never met some of these people. I wish like this had never, you know, and that's the piece of me that's like, if you can put this information out there so that people never get sucked into this, you know, like definitely helping people get out, but like, let's just not get in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yes, education beforehand. And you know, I wanted to two things I wanted to say. The first thing is like how people will I've seen like when I create content and people say, well, what if you just stood up and left? And a lot of people, you're in a large group awareness training, you're not going to, but you did. It was powerful enough when they're like recite the 10 commandments and you're like, I'm not, you got up and you left that one, but you were still in. So you can still have these big red flags and you're like, that guy is staring you down and you're like, that's a boundary. You had a boundary even when you're still within these high control groups, these cults, these commercial cults.
Yeah.
You still were there. And what was the other thing that I wanted to ask you? It'll come to me. I'm sorry. Apologize. I'm like, everything you're saying, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
No, I mean, there's just, I mean, so much to say. And even like the whole not missing the events, you know, like they pushed hard for like, even if you have a wedding in your family, like you should come to the event instead. Or
Ray
even,
just did that for his. It was Rank Makers Live, and this is recycled. Like, this was for Rank Makers Live last year. Now he's rebranding to Faith Over Fear. It's a weird acronym. It's like Forbes. Like, it's FORFB. Oh my God. But it says on the email, like, or on the thing, reschedule the wedding. Like, it says that. So it's exactly what you said.
and he was in WorldVentures. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know him at the time.
Oh my God, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine if he was your upline? I was kind of like, oh my God, I wonder where this story's going to go.
No, totally. But see, like the guy who got me into Rainmakers, he's been in the industry for a really long time. He's the one who told me that Ray was, and so who knows if he like knew him. He's now an inner circle coach, I'm pretty sure. I mean, when you've been in network marketing for 30 plus years, you tend to know the other players that are like in the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were like these other connections, but like that's why a lot of the stuff that like Ray says, like I feel like he learned. So Marcus et al. Say that was the director of training for WorldVentures, and he essentially taught Ray, collaborated with Ray, whatever. So a lot of the stuff that Ray says, I mean, Ray's a little bit more intense than Mark is, but like Mark has his own version of like the colors training. That story that he tells, I've seen you react to it, where he's like, somebody gets on stage and says I recruited the first 60 people that I signed up. That was at our company convention because I like heard that story. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, so there's things like that. I'm like, I think I know who you're talking about, So all of this stuff is like intertwined, but like that makes sense why he would be like, skip the wedding or like whatever. Like I was so afraid to miss an event. I went to every single event, like every single one. I was so afraid to miss them. And I don't know why. Like you have this irrational fear of like not doing what is expected of you, but like who's saying, like I even remember like I had an event in California and I was going to EDC. I was going to a music festival in Vegas and I flew home for a freaking training in the middle of a music festival because I was so scared to miss it. For what? Like for what? What did I learn that day? Why just enjoy the festival? Like, why are you stressing yourself out about worrying? And thankfully, it was never like a wedding or anything like, serious like that. But like my best friend, like one of their events would always fall on the same weekend as her daughter's birthday and her anniversary. So it's like she's like, I'm never gonna go. I'm not gonna go to that, but they would encourage you to. They would encourage you to skip everything else and go because those events are where they pitch you obviously on the next ticket to the next event, but then also just indoctrinate your entire team. And even that upline director of mine was like, I remember him telling like my upline, he was getting frustrated with me because I wasn't bringing people to events. And so no matter how committed I was, the team wasn't growing, the downline wasn't growing. And so like, that's really all that Kalika needs to bring more people to the next event. And it's like, it's also not hard. It's also really hard to convince people to spend that much money. Like the tickets are a couple $100s for the event, the hotel, the flight from California to usually somewhere in like on the East Coast. So it's usually like a long flight. It's usually not in my neck of the woods. And like, I mean, I got a couple people to go occasionally, but like that shit is hard. It is hard to convince people. And if there's one thing that I will say is like, if you get invited, like, I don't care how high your curiosity level is to like check out an MLM, don't go to the 3-day conventions. Like, if you really feel an interest to go, even if you're just trying to do research or just trying to spy, like, I would not recommend anybody go to any of those conventions ever because against your will, like straight up undue influence, like your mind is going to be changed, probably not in a positive way because you are being influenced so heavily by the company that like has you there. And it's like, I used to think those conferences were so great. I'm like, even if I am not in, even if I don't want to build the business anymore, I'm going to still keep coming to these because they're so great. You know what I mean? And like every October, like the director of training would do like an event called A View from the Edge. And it was like a theatrical event. Like they teach you concepts, but it would be like a play setup as opposed to just like speaking on a stage, but it would be like a whole stage setup. And again, they're still doing this event for other companies now because he's a coach. And so he just is the director of training for multiple companies now. It's just funny, like another cognitive dissonance. Again, the tagline of that event is life will never be the same. And year after year after year, you go back to the same event. Life will never be the same. Life is exactly the same. Your business has not grown at all. And they think that they're creating all these major breakthroughs for you. But I'm like, you're doing the same skits as last year. I thought life was never going to be the same. You know what I mean? And you just realize how regurgitated all of it is. And it's not because they're helping you progress. It's really because they have a new audience at every event because of the churn rate of these companies. Most of the people that are attending are brand new. So they can still keep spewing out the same information, but they're reaching the new people that are there. And then if you're an older person that's there, or older in the company, I mean, you're just getting further and further brainwashed into believing that even though you're hearing the same information, you're learning something new every single time that you go. It's so wild. It's so wild. I mean, I'm so fascinated by those events. And if you have any resources of people talking about those specifically, like let me know, because I'm so fascinated about like the psychology of those big events and like what happens there. I think I heard, Stephen Hassett or somebody talk about it, but like I really want to dive in because that shit fucks you up. Those events mess with you hard. And I
Yeah.
would come off of those events with an event hangover and I'd be so angry and I'd like snap at people at the end of the weekend and I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought, why am I not the social butterfly right now? It's because you've been fucked with literally for like 72 hours mentally. And it's bad for anybody, it's crazy.
I remember the question that I wanted to ask you. It was about like the process of waking up, and you did describe when you your the vigil, your father is like, passing away, and I hate bringing this up because it's just like, oh, this is this vulnerable piece, and
Yeah.
every time I mention it, it's like bringing up these feelings. So I apologize for this. I won't bring it up again.
No,
This
it's okay.
So was that the moment? Like, I know from the very first, there was that red flag of that person being on the call, that guy upline. Surprise, there's somebody else on this phone call that I thought was private. And it's just like it ambushes you. So there's like, what's going on? Uncertainty. And then there was this other piece where you start to look at different content and you start to question, you have time away. And the reason why I want to know this is because I think it's helpful for other people. We see ourselves in other people's experience and stories. And I know for me, it took me, I can kind of see it was like about a year and a half where I kind of was like, this kind of thing it was big enough where I started to question things, and then it accelerated until I left. And I was wondering if that was similar to you. Do you have like a time frame from there was like this kind of thing, or not the straw that broke the camel's back, but this kind of thing was big enough, and then this was when I left? Like, was there a period, like how long, or did you even have that happen?
Yeah, I definitely did because it was like even though there was all these things from the very beginning, I it didn't equate to this is a pyramid, this is a scam. It was just I don't really like this about the industry and I want to do it differently or it can be done better. I think there's this narrative of since you are your own boss, everybody can do it the way they want to do it, and there's some unethical reps and unethical companies out there, but like you can do it right. This is the narrative that a lot of people that are still in will say, and I think I was of that same mind. So like even after the company collapsed, all these different things happened, the stuff with like the mental health stuff, I'm like, you shouldn't be talking about ADHD, like why are we doing this? Like it still didn't equate, and I think that's where in a sense the fact that Rank Makers has all these other company like that's what I really liked about Rank Makers was that it was like about like we had people from all other companies.
Me
We
too. I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. What a great family. This community is amazing. Oh my God.
oh, we're not pitching each other. We're all so
Yeah.
respectful. You know what I mean? Like,
Integrity.
but I think that in itself was its undoing for me too, because coming across like coming across Jenny's video, it didn't, I just thought it was just another anti-MLM video. And I was like about to click off of it, but then I saw Jen comment it. And I think the reason that it struck me was because I'm like, I know Jen from Rank Makers. I know Jen as a Rank Makers coach. She's from a different company than me. And she's saying all these things that make sense. And then it's applicable, just like everything in Rank Makers was applicable across all the companies, so is everything in anti-MLM. I'm like, that's when it was like, there isn't just one company that's the problem. They really are all pyramid schemes. Like that's when it was like, and I don't think I'm not saying when I saw that video that it clicked, but like when I started to consume more of her guys, I think she was making she started again making content, but like I think at that point she had made a lot of like TikToks, and I was like looking at her TikTok and I was like that, like you have spent so much time like learning how to handle the objection, is this a pyramid scheme? So that like the idea that they all are, no questions asked, like I had to watch so much anti-MLM content to get to that point, and that was probably a span of like a month, like because I was like in California back and forth for like a couple of months, and that entire time, essentially, whenever I had any downtime, I was just like looking stuff up, and so I think there was probably like a span of like a month where I'm like, oh my god, they're all pyramid schemes, and then that conflicting, like maybe that's just their opinion, and it's like, no, wait, this is statistically proven, like, and I'm like proving it to myself a little bit, and then after I'd done that enough, I'm like, it's not enough for me to just say I'm not doing this anymore. Like I need to call and like quit these companies. Like I need to call and like be done, like, and I think it was from Seacret. I got some condescending message back, not condescending, but like, so sorry to hear that you've given up on your business, like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone else just like, let me quit. You know what I mean? But like, I think it was like probably about the span of like a month from where I was like trying to digest the idea of like, no, the whole industry is a scam, to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to like just be done. But it probably took another couple months after that where I still was like not questioning, but like I felt like I could get swayed back the other way. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes, I felt the same way. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably say it was probably like a month of me like being like, okay, I'm gonna look at this content. Holy shit, my mind's blown. To then being like, oh my god, I can like actually digest this idea and like act on it, but it was definitely a long time coming. And then that's again why like your videos are so helpful, like when you react to certain things, because and I threw a lot of my stuff away, and I wish I did it, because now I would like to go back and look at it and try to understand it from like a critical thinking perspective. And so that's why it helps me to look at like reaction and commentary videos and break it down in like real time, because it's like, okay, I remember what my mindset would have been when I was in, and now like, how does the objective person that's out look at this same situation, And so again, that's why I feel like, okay, that content is really helpful for somebody who's leaving. And as well as like the educational stuff about like, here are bullet points and red flags to look out for, and because now their new thing is like they all claim that they're not network marketing or MLM or whatever, and so it's like, okay, well, let's not worry about the label, let's look at these defining things, and if you see these defining things, like you may be in a scam or a pyramid scheme or a company that's just going to screw you over. Like, who cares what we call it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. The behaviors are the same. The language will change. The names will change. It's like direct selling, social, sharing, social, retail, network marketing, multi-level marketing, omni-channel, whatever. What are their behaviors? What are they doing? Those never change.
And then, and the fact of like recruiting, like no business, unless you're like a pro athlete or like an actual recruiter in an HR department, like those are like the only like situations that I know of that have like legitimate like recruiting practices. You know what I mean? Like if you're getting scouted for sports, or like, again, if you work in an HR department and you're in charge of hiring for a company, but like this whole duplication. Like no business like requires the recruiting aspect or like the duplication aspect. Like anytime you're trying to convince somebody to like do what you're doing to then convince other people to do what you're doing, it's like who cares what we call it? You know what I mean? Like if that
Yeah.
aspect's there, like that's a huge,
Yes.
it's a huge red flag.
Yes. I want to emphasize again, like just how like you read a comment from Jenny Wild, because I was reading comments from Jenny Wild on Instagram when I was questioning, and I followed, there were like breadcrumbs around the internet or on Instagram, and I kept, because you could search for their comments. I'm like, and I was like piecing things together, and I think it's so cool that that was also like,
I know.
Shout out to you, Jenny Wild. Well done. And that's what can happen is the comments themselves, and it can be from, you know, okay, so like, well, it was Jen Ryla's comment. So, but Jenny,
yeah, it was a reel. I'm like, I don't even know how it came up on my feed. I was just scrolling reels and it just came up.
And you saw someone that you knew, and that was enough comment. It was just, but you were already like starting to, like, there's something there. And that what I feel is there's hope for people that even their religious and their faith is tied up with, because I was looking, 1 in 13 people have been, according to fundera.com, have been involved in multi-level marketing. And it could probably be even more like it could be less, like more than that or whatever. So, and there's more and more people speaking out about it. And like people of faith, Christians are making content saying, whoa, this is not okay. This is not what we do. This is nothing what our faith is about. So they're becoming more vocal. People are it's harder for them to have their thoughts stifled, especially being on social media, which is a lot of how these scams are run. So I just wanted to like emphasize that as well, because
that's true.
Speaking out, you leaving comments is just as powerful. You're helping people already. You've already helped people feel that they're not alone.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee that. Guarantee 1,000 million %. Sign up Anderson/group training.com.
Oh my gosh. I did actually log into my Higdon University, which I still have access to. So I think I might do something fun with that.
Oh my God. If you do, let me know too. Send me a DM or whatever. And if you need any, I want to support, I'll share that shit all over. I'd like to ask you about your sweater too. It says Team Blessed. Would you like be open to telling us more about that? If not, no big deal.
The best part is that Team Blessed did start. It had its roots in when we were in network marketing. So I joined in 2015. I met Kelly, my boyfriend, in 2015. And they were like sidelined to me essentially, right? And they had hit 1 or 2 leadership ranks or whatever. So him and his brother were like working together. And then you know how you create a team? Like, I don't know if this was like a thing, but like you created essentially another way to circumvent saying the company name is to create a team, and then you don't say the company name, right? So like the Rat Pack, like I said, was like the big team that we were both on, like the big team that's like out in Colorado. But they were building a team or whatever. And so they just wanted to call it Team Blessed, and they just put Team Blessed on a hat, you know? And then what happened was, they left before I did, you know, but they noticed that they would wear these hats around and they'd have like these really good conversations with people. People would stop them and either just like connect with people and have awesome conversations, like whether it was like not religious, like it wasn't, some people were religious, but people would come up to them and like tell them an awesome story and just connect, you know? And then they're like, how do I get a hat? You know, like, how, you know, whatever. And so then, and the boys have always wanted to create an apparel company. So aside from WorldVentures or network marketing or whatever, they're like, no, we've always wanted to create a company, and this is a great brand name. Like, people really resonate with it, and people love like wearing clothes with Team Blessed on it. So then they started creating apparel in 2015. Like, they launched an entire apparel company, and then like Kelly is a personal trainer, so he was like working in gyms, and then the pandemic shut him down, and so then he went to completely working for himself because he had already built an app, and he had already had home clients that he was going to their homes and training in, and so he ended up just building his own personal training practice. that that now he's been working for himself and built his own business. It's just so funny because they tell you in network marketing that you need to do that so that you can then make your goals come true, and you waste all your time and all your money. Or if you just go focus on what you wanted to do, it can work so much faster. He built an entire beautiful practice for himself under Team Bless Fitness. So now we have like a garage gym that he trains out of. He has a whole practice of clients he goes to. He trains people long distance. So he trains under Team Bless Fitness. And then me and his brother have been in the service industry our whole lives. And the pandemic also shut us down. But then like obviously restaurants and bars and stuff opened again. But we're like, I want to do this for myself. So then we started Team Bless Bartending, which is a private event bartending company. And so now we do like weddings and like we just did a music festival this past weekend. And so now we are self-employed under Team Bless Bartending. And so it's turned into this whole thing of like legitimate businesses. But it's just so funny because it did get it started.
The ironic like twist at the I've got goosebumps. It's like so nice. Good for you. Congratulations. That's
Thank
really
you.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that another thing I'll reiterate, they tell you that this is the fastest way to make money and that you need to focus all your goals on this, and you make it in network marketing, and then that'll give you the money to funnel to your other pursuits and the other things that you want to do. And the reality of the situation for us is when we just focused on what we wanted to do and did it like a real business is actually, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's actually much easier because it's also not a scale.
Exactly. You can sleep at night.
I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but I mean, it's also, I will say it's easier than trying to succeed in a network marketing company. You know what I mean? Like you actually put in work and see results from the work that you do, and you actually sell a product and deliver on it and treat people well, and
yeah, imagine that, right?
It's so funny.
Oh man. Do you have any I'd like if you could go back in time and give yourself a message like that could possibly like sway you. I know it's like an impossible thing, but I'm just thinking of, it's like, you give advice to people, but if there's something that you could go back in time, like what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, that is a hard one. I definitely, like network marketing has a way of redefining words, right? Like what research is, or like what a clinical study is, or whatever. I would tell myself to critically think about what they're telling you. Like do your own, like aside from saying do your own research, it's like when they're like, oh, you can Google it and you're just going to find a bunch of negative stuff on Google. Like I can give you the research, and the research is coming from my company. It's like, well, no, like what is research? Like, let's talk about what research is. Research is actually actively going out and collecting and gathering and filtering information and deciding its validity based on its sources, and compiling information yourself to create like a logical conclusion. Like that is what research actually is. It isn't taking a document somebody's handed you and saying, this is the research, believe it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what if I just think about what they're telling you for a minute, instead of blindly believing it, just critically think about what they're believing, what they're telling you, without any urgency. Because that's like the other thing that I've learned is urgency is this huge thing that's built in to get people to make buying decisions. And in reality, there's very few things in life that are urgent that you need to make a decision like right here on the spot. So like just think about it for a second, like, and if it does make sense, okay, go for it, but like, had I thought about it, had I done the research, like I think I did Google it, and I came across some lawsuits, and then I'm barely even read them, but I'm like, real research would have been reading those lawsuits, taking the time to understand them, and then drawing like logical conclusions from them, and I just think that being pushed to make a make a decision without thinking about it. Like just think about every decision that you're making. You know what I mean? Like that's what I would have told myself. Just really think it through before you do this. Like there's no urgency to make a decision. There's no need to jump, but they want you to jump. They want you to do it right away. They want you to come to the next event in a week, you know? So had I thought through some of those things at first, I think that would have saved me, you know, a few years of being involved in the industry for sure.
How are you feeling? Like, how are you feeling now? Because it's like, it's easy, when you're in multi-level marketing, it's like toxic positivity, and it's like, it's wrapped up in a bow. It's like, okay. And it's like, you're out, and it's like, okay, but it's not like that. Healing from this it's different for each person, just depending on so many factors. And I want to, make sure that people know, like, it's okay to have, like, you feel really good, and then there's days where you're just like, oh my God, like when you were first describing, like, you're out, it's wrong, but I'm like, I didn't fully get it, because the brainwashing is so fucking deep. It's wild. Like, you could say this scam, it's not a business model. This scam ensures that most people fail in order for it to work. How many times did I have to hear that before I finally got it? I understood it, but I didn't feel it in my body. It was like, no. So with all of that, like, if you would like to, like, how are you feeling, like, right now after, like, coming out of this? Here we are, April or May 2023. How are you feeling right now?
It's healing for me to talk about, definitely. And I think these spaces are really important to create, because it's hard to talk about this with somebody that doesn't understand, or they don't have to have been in, but like they have to be empathetic to what you went through and understanding of the point of view. And it's hard. Not everybody is, or not everybody understands that this is what it is, or they still are in that halfway place where they believe. I'm excited to start speaking out and sharing content because I'm so passionate about this. Like, I live with my boyfriend and his brother and my business partner. We do, like, and again, we were all in at one point, and sometimes I just like word vomit like all over them, and like, okay, like, give it a rest. But I do feel like I have, a lot to say, and it is helpful to talk through it. I will say that, like, I've been reading, like, I'm reading like Lord of the Rings right now. Like, it feels so good to like not be personally developing.
Yeah.
Like, it feels so good. Like, and even the other day, that both of them are like, oh, you have to read this book, Rework. It's like a great business book that they've been reading. I'm like, I'm just not reading business books right now. Like, I will when I'm ready to like read that, but I'm enjoying not personally developing. I'm enjoying not posting everything. I'm enjoying, like, just being okay saying things are cringy, and like, because that was one of the things too. And like, there's always a shred of truth in everything that they teach you. And again, I was so into personal development, it's hard to let all that stuff go. And I'm not saying it's all bullshit. Like, again, there's a lot of like, there are things you can do to develop a resilient mindset, and things like, yes, like, I do believe in that kind of stuff, but like, it's just so nice to like take a break from that, accept that you don't need to be consuming that content like all the time, sitting with negative feelings a little bit more, instead of just being like, there's something wrong with me, or I need to fix my mindset. It comes and goes in waves. Sometimes I'm like watching a lot of content. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, I need to like just take a break, but it's definitely not a linear process. I do kind of feel like I'm in a place where like I won't go back now.
Yeah.
But like, now I feel like an obligation to like let people know, like, because it isn't just a difference of opinion. It's not just like some people believe in this industry and some people don't. It's like, and to the point that you said, if I get confronted, because I sometimes, when I post something, like, I'll have some like old upline come out and say like, not all companies are bad, or like whatever. But it's like, the truth of the matter is, if you tell that person and that person is willing to run their own numbers, see where they're at, and good if they're making money. Now let's look at all of your other people. and show me that 99% of them are losing. Like, you know that if you ask somebody that, they will not be able to prove otherwise to you. And like knowing that like statistical truth, like that's the foundation. Like I think all of network marketing is built on believing like one big lie. And it's like that's the foundation that I like kind of anchor myself back to. And somebody's like promoting another business, or like, you know, has something defensive to say, or you know, it's like it all comes back down to that. And if you can't claim that you're, you know, helping people, if those are like the results. And so it's like, as I work through this, I'm like, okay, that's like one of my anchor points, you know. And like my other anchor point is the people that are in my uplines. Like I wish them well, you know. I hope I don't harbor bad like feelings towards them. It is tough because I've totally disconnected from people that were friends, you know, like because I can't. And then it's like trying to find the balance of not being that MLM person that just automatically blocks everybody that doesn't agree with them, but at the same time, like I can't engage with them right now because I know inevitably it'll come up, and I don't want to debate them over it or like whatever. So those are certain things that I'm struggling with. And another reason why I wanted to start on YouTube, because it's like a fresh platform for me, so I can like create some content, find like the anti-MLM community, and then like when I feel like I've worked through enough, then because my Facebook is inundated with MLMers. And
yeah, it's a viper. I call it a viper's nest. I shouldn't, because it's like dehumanizing, but I was also a viper, so that's how I make it okay in my mind. It's so much. That was the home. That's the home of like multi-level marketing on social media.
Yeah. And then my Instagram, not that everybody on there is an MLM, but all those people are watching me on mine Instagram. You know what I mean? And so those are the ones that I like get reactions to and stuff. And so that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to start on YouTube, like start to put some information out. If people from those other platforms want to come over here and meet me here, that's like awesome. But, you know, it's working through, because I know I'm going to get some backlash, but I don't care. I don't care. I know it's going to be uncomfortable for me because I am like a recovering people pleaser for sure. But yeah, it's all very jumbled, but honestly, that's what healing is, you know. And it's still so much better on the outside because it's like you're so afraid of leaving. But like I do remember feeling so miserable for so much time because you're not succeeding and you think there's something wrong with you, and you're pushing yourself to do more every single day, and you just feel like you're not doing enough, and like you feel so negatively about yourself, you know. And so now just being out and being like having a to-do list for a week, and then like I'm done by like Tuesday. I'm like, I don't really have
You got so much time freedom. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm like, start a YouTube channel and a small business.
Literally.
Like, what else can I do? Because I'm so used to doing so much stuff.
I'm like, wow, like I'm done with everything I need to do in like a day or two. Like, this is awesome. Like, you know, and I like enjoy myself more, like allow myself to get sucked into shows. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's not that serious, you know?
Yeah. It's like you're living life, not where it's like, this is bad. Watching a show, reading a book that isn't about personal development is a bad thing. No, it's like, it's life. You're living your life.
Yeah. And it's so much better. And it's like, it's actually so much easier too, like to actually set goals and achieve them. And so like if someone's watching this that's in, and you know, it's like I felt like I was setting goals every week and like not hitting them. You know what I mean? Like I would just, or like they'd be like, don't focus on your results, focus on the activity. And I'd focus on the activity, but I'd still have no results, and it still made me feel like shit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's actually, I've been able to accomplish a lot more since, you know. And I think that's, I mean, considering the amount of change, like my entire life shifted last year, like the amount of change that I've been going through, you know, so many things you could just set on their head. And like I had a job when my dad passed, and guess what my job said when I said I needed to take time off? They said, I'll give you as much time as you need. Your job doesn't say, I hate you, you have to show up. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
they don't say that to you.
Get more people to the event. They don't say any of that. They're like, take as much time as you
Well,
want.
like they villainize jobs so much, and it's like my boss was like, take as much time as you need, and I'll pay you as much as I can, and I'll pull some sick time out, and I'll pull some PTO out, and I'll do what it like, all these things that you don't believe that you can have, and you stay, stuck in this whatever, and it's like I'm, and now I'm literally like, next week is probably going to be my last week at my job because like I'm going full time in my business. But
Oh my
like,
God, congratulations! Yes, right on, congratulations!
But you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I did that we started this company last year. And how long was I in network marketing spinning my wheels?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's like a reasonable timeline or whatever. There's been a lot of other circumstances in my life.
I know. I know, but I got to say this, is that congratulations, because we're taught to immediately diminish any of our successes, especially if you've been in multi-level marketing and especially in fucking rank makers for any length of time. And I just want to say congratulations. It goes without saying that not everybody, you're not like recruiting people to come into and then like franchising out your business. You've just started this. You've exited a commercial cult, more than one. And you've started like this business. You've had like huge stuff going on in your personal life. Like you've woken up and like, this is, so it, you know what? It doesn't even need, we don't need to like, you can say whatever you want, but I just want to
yeah.
There doesn't need to be a disclaimer with every time you have a success now to be like, oh, not everybody can achieve it. Fuck that. You achieved it. Good for you. So
thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you. No, but you're right. Exactly. This is all stuff that is just like programmed so deep. And again, when it comes to like healing, like triggers, like there's so many things that trigger me. When it comes to just language and how things are even the word abundance, like there's nothing wrong with the word abundance inherently, but like now I'm just like
abundance, scarcity, manifestation, like anything, even fucking posture. Oh my God.
And I will tell you, literally, and this is another thing that has inspired me, and I do want to share this because, like I said, when I was left or trying to leave Seacret and getting recruited by Amare, I was branding myself as a mental wellness coach. Since then, I now hate the term mental wellness. Unfortunately, it's because I had picked that word even before I knew this company. And now, like, I hate the term. I hate the word coach because the industry is very similar to MLM. It's just teaching other coaches how to make $100,000 who are teaching other coaches to make $100,000. And like, it's so tainted. I'm like, how? Because I still have my goal of creating mental health resources for people. So I'm like, but I completely want to just get away from the term mental, because wellness coach is just such a like, it means nothing, and it's a term that's been used in the wrong way by so many people. And so like that's something that I'm really like kind of struggling with, how to like kind of circumvent that, or because my whole thing was I want to create something that doesn't really exist, right? When it comes to like resources for the general public, to just how to, just like they say, walk, get some sunshine for your body. Like just people don't know how to take care of their brains and their minds. And that's always been on my heart to do. And I was trying to brand myself with this unique, like something, without claiming that I was something that I wasn't. And then I found myself mixed up with all of these grifts and scams. And so I've like kind of taken a step back so that I can reevaluate how I want to do that. But like now I'm from this and like learning about group psychology and cults and undue influence and all these other things. That's almost like I'm at the point where I do want to get like our business off the ground and like get that rocking and rolling. But I'm like, I have, like I told you, I was pre-med or pre-optometry, and then like kind of pushed away from it because they were like, you could create all this money in network marketing. I've always known I've wanted to be like a therapist. And so I feel like I actually want to go get licensed as an actual therapist to like help like people and be have the training and the certification and all the legit things behind it to actually be able to do so, because this has spawned that, honestly. Like, this has played a huge role in that, because I'm like, holy shit, like, you can talk to people about taking care of their mental health, but usually there's something underlying going on that people will need help with. And if you're not equipped to deal with those things, that's when we get people like Ray talking about trauma, who, when you're not licensed to talk about trauma, you have all these people that are unlicensed to be helping you with your mental health issues. And I'm like, you know what? No, like, I want to actually go do it the right way. So I feel like that's the direction that I'm heading now. So as I kind of take a step back from like my job and like obviously getting my business going and working that, I'm like, I want to start taking classes. I want to start actually getting like certified. And so I'm really excited about that. And that has also become a result of healing, like this healing process, and learning about what people go through, and how this is such a mind fuck for so many people, and how mentally it does so many things to you. And it's so crazy that a lot of these companies claim that they help with all these things, when in reality they're hurting so much in so many different ways. Like, whether it's tens of thousands of dollars of debt, whether it's self-doubt, whether it's ruined family relationships, whether it's isolation, whether it's literally brainwashing, like, and like, I really want to help people with this. And that's honestly been inspired just by this healing process. So there are good things. There's a lot of good things that come out on the other side.
Oh, wow. I've got goosebumps.
Aw.
Everything you've said is it's so powerful. I see myself in everything that you have said. And just like the way you say things, it's like slightly differently too, and just these different perspectives. It's like, I feel really good. I feel heard,
Aw. I
So
love that. But see, I think that's important too, because everyone thinks their situation is unique. Like, even when you're in, you think your company is unique, and you think, it's different here, like, whatever, and it's like, you realize that not only are the verbiage, the vernacular, whatever, all the cult behavior and the tactics that are used all the same, but like the experience of all of us, not saying everybody's experience is the same, but there's so many parallels between like what you went through in your experience. And even though we were in two completely different companies, we didn't even know each other. Like, and it's crazy because how many people aren't talking about it that
Yes.
feel the exact same way, and that are just experiencing this and
alone,
not saying anything.
No.
Yeah. And that's why, like, even when I've been posting stuff on like my stories and on Instagram, and there's a lot of people that were in my company, and who knows where they are, but with their journey, but like, they'll reach out and be like, oh my God, I so relate to that. Like, oh my God, I just felt like shit. You're so right. Like, and it's like, just that keeps me going, honestly, like, knowing that there's people out there that are like, oh my God, what you just said resonated so much with me, and it's like, well, not everybody is saying something. So like, if I didn't say that, you'd just be experiencing this on your own, and there's a lot of people like that.
And it's a ripple effect. It does not take much. It's just, we want it. So many of us that get involved in these multi-level marketing companies, we want to do good. Like, you want to do, you believe you're doing good. And now it's just like, you have an idea, you put something in your stories, and you're having people that are like, I feel the same way. That alone allows them to then start critically thinking. It's like, it gives them permission to even think, oh, I'm not alone here. Just that. It's so powerful. You're already what you're doing. So I want to keep emphasizing that too. It's like, I've beaten that to death, and I wanted to, so I'm not going to say it again. I'll move on to this. And this is for anybody that's starting to create content. This is something I've seen. I've seen it. I've experienced it myself, and I've seen it with other people. It's like, as soon as you start posting, you get like people within your company or whatever group, they kind of like come after you, and it can be in varying degrees. This is why I use the word fuck like a fire hose, especially on Facebook, because it was just like blow them off, and it was effective. Plus I swear a lot anyway, but it's almost like running, like, I don't know, like, you have to get through it, and then it seems to be okay, because it's almost like transitioning from this, like this social media presence or identity where people still think they're entitled to tell you what to do, and they're entitled to their opinion, and they're entitled to leave a comment, and they're entitled to have you read it and respond to it, because that entitlement is really big in multi-level marketing. When you like break from that, it's weird, and everybody deals with it in different ways. And so however you choose to deal with it, it's okay. Those are your boundaries. You get to choose, and you can change your mind at any time too.
Yeah.
And there is, like, on the other side, it's kind of like the long game. They'll calm down. They figure out, it's like, oh shit. There's hope.
And I've been trying to be like a little delicate about it, because again, like I'm building like an actual business, and I want that business to grow. And so I'm not trying to come out like guns a-blazing to the point of where people are like, how do I say this? I realize I'm like, I don't fucking care if I turn off MLMers, because I don't want their business anyways, right? Like, I don't care. Like, if you don't have to hire me, guess what? I don't care. There's other people that'll hire me. Like, it's totally fine. But I also just want to project myself professionally on social media as a business person, just in general. And so that's why I've been like, how, but I'm like, I'm gonna be myself, honestly. And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Like, I'm just not for everybody. But like, that was one of the things. I'm like, what if I do lose, like, because I've had some people that were in MLM, ask about like our services, and I'm like, what if they hate me after I start speaking out? And it's like, who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Okay, we don't book that gig because we don't align. You know what I mean? Like, we don't resonate. You don't want me to work your brother's wedding because of me being anti-MLM. Cool. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And I was like, just trying to work through that,
It's tricky. Like, it's so, but you're guided by what you want to do. And I think that's so cool to have, like, just to other people can hear how you're approaching this, like forging this new identity on social media. It's not like, it's still you, but it's like, how am I going to do this? And it's really thoughtful, and it's really cool, because there's going to be other people that are leaving. They're going to be watching this. They're going to be hearing you. And you're like, I want to do that too. I have a business. I want to, whether they decide to speak out or not. But this is so, thank you for being so open about how you're working through this.
Yeah. I mean, and the thought that I keep coming back to is like, any legitimate business owner would not have a problem with me speaking out about a scam. Any legitimate customer that I want will not have a problem with me speaking out about a scam. So, and if they do, then okay. But like, I'm going to come from the place of education. I'm going to come from the place of pointing out the behaviors, pointing out the red flags. I'm super triggered by WorldVentures. I'm super triggered by DreamTrips. I'm definitely like going to like dive into that for sure. Amare is another one that's been on my shit list now, because I'm like, you literally are taking advantage of people.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, and it needs to be talked about, and as many people can talk about it as possible. And the fact that you've had experiences with it is really good. Because
the person, the upline who posted the picture of my best friend and first got me in, essentially, she's now in Amare.
Oh, here we go. And the serpent eats its tail.
And she's also in like an insurance one that they totally claim is not an MLM. But it's like, this is what I mean. They've just moved in small groups to other little things, and like, it's really shitty. And I mean, she may see this video and she may hate it, but the truth is, like, I like looked at the cycle of events. I have not said a word about anything, but like, she posted, and this a straight up emotional manipulation of moms. Like, this is what it is. She straight up posted something about how completely oversharing about how she had her son, was struggling with postpartum rage, and now started taking these products, and it's helped because her friend was vulnerable enough to share her story about postpartum rage 10 days before. They've all been on these products for like less than a month. And then now that she has a recruit who's posting about postpartum anxiety and depression and how these products, and it's just like, that is what they're being taught, like literally.
Yeah.
And oh God, postpartum, I mean, I don't have kids, but like, that's a very vulnerable time. Everybody's experiences are so different. You are so alone with what you're going through, with all the changes in your own body. And that's when you're preying on people. You know what I mean? It's like, I heard the ADHD stuff, and like at first it was like the kid was in college and he's taking the supplements and they make him feel better. So like, okay, like whatever, like, but then, hearing a lady on a mastermind talk about like her foster children and giving them to her foster children, that's when I was like, oh, it seems a little bit off. And now it's like the same person that got me into the first company is now, I had told her about Amare when I was checking it out. And then she'd asked me about it. I was like, no, something's just not like sitting right with me about network marketing, and I just never really, but she knew I was branding myself as a mental wellness coach. And that's just triggering in itself, because I'm like, you literally went to that exact company.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming after that one too. Let's just put it.
Awesome. That's really good. It's good to hear. They better look out. The way you speak and the way you just, it's really compelling. And I'm just like, I want to keep listening to more. I could just keep listening to you just like talk on. I know people watching this are going to be like, this is awesome. Can she just keep talking, please?
I hope it's helpful. I'm just sitting here like, I all of these things I like wanted to say for so long.
It's coming out, and there's going to be more too. And there's so many more, because like this time just goes on, more like awareness has happened, and plus your life is moving on. Like you have this business, there's going to be other like connections, and then like these other incidents that happen, like this upline that is now with Amare that is talking about this postpartum, and they're teaching this is emotional manipulation, and then it's being duplicated. And so then there's the people that are experiencing this, and then they're going to have to reconcile that they emotionally manipulated people. Wow. So, I mean, it's going to be like double, triple whammy.
The fact that I can go through your Facebook and I can track all of this simply just from reading posts without knowing any of the conversations that are going on behind the doors, any of like the actual training, the fact that I can look at the upline and then the person they recruited and then their posts and then the person they recruited and then their posts, and just see what is happening. Like, they're literally being taught to emotionally manipulate people that have like the same problem that they went through. And that nothing about that is groundbreaking. I mean, I feel like we realized we were doing this, whatever it was. Like, they always told us, like, share your story and you're going to help the same person through that same situation or whatever. But like, just being able to track it so blatantly, like out in the open with people that have been on this product for, how can you say something's working for you in 10 days? Like how, like, aside from a placebo effect, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's like anything can happen in 10 days. People say it even over the weekend or 3 days, they make these claims. It's like, that doesn't mean anything, especially with you now with like, you're like back to yourself. It's like scientist.
Yeah. That does not make any sense.
Everything I'm going to be thinking clearly. Where's your studies? I'm going to be taking in other information and then logically thinking through now.
Yeah, it's wild. And like, you look at their chief science officer who just paid like some settlement because of health claims like a few years ago, essentially. Like, I don't know if you've watched any deep dives on Amare, but like
I've only watched little bits and pieces, but that's
so it's just like, but like now I know, I'm like, I'm gonna go look at the person who's the chief science officer and look at the lawsuits that they have, and it's like, it's very interesting. It's very interesting how everything's smoke and mirrors, and it's just meant to get more people in. It's crazy.
And this, like you speaking out, and then everybody else speaking out or creating content, however they do it, it's all adding up to creating that education to help people prevent getting sucked into these scams in the first place, and helping them wake up too. And it's going to be like helping more people like report these things too. That'll be the next thing, reporting to FTC. TINA.org, Competition Bureau Canada, whatever, other country you're in, whatever body that you can. But that, I think that's more, I feel now we're at a point where we've exceeded, because everybody gets fucked over by MLMs because they touch everything in society. Everybody has been affected by MLMs, whether they want to admit it or not. They know somebody that has had a product or they've bought a product themselves. There's more people now that are waking up and speaking out and realizing that this shame has meant to like silence them than there are people getting sucked in. That's what I think. I think there's like a tipping point now.
Yeah,
Everybody's talking now. It's really great.
And basically anytime anybody's pitching you anything on social media now, like people are aware that it's like a scam or it's network marketing. And, I feel like when social media was new, like it felt more organic, and maybe that's why you were able to recruit so many people online. I think we've talked about this before. Like, yeah, we learned how to send a lot of cold messages. Not that it really worked. Like,
it didn't work. It works if you get in at pre-launch, where
yeah.
you're already at the top of the pyramid. And then you think, oh, I've got these recruits. It's like you're always at the top of your compensation plan. You have been for the last 15 years or whatever, or you bounce because you are invited by the founders of a new company, or you're starting your own multi-level marketing company. And lo and behold, you're at the top of that one too. And it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how many cold messages. It's like, yeah, I know, sending out 200 for me. I was sending out 200 messages a day. I know somebody else in the circle, they were sending out 300 a day. There's people out doing what I was doing. Nothing.
It takes so much time. And the fact that you wake up in the morning and like, I was like, was I Pacific or was I Mountain? I think it was Pacific and then Mountain time. But like Ray would go, it was like 8:30 or 7:30 in the morning. Like it was early. Like, and you wake up and you watch it, and I'd try to catch it live, but I think I was in California. So like sometimes I wouldn't, because when you work nights, you're not up at 7:30. But like, and you just go straight into process. Like that's the first thing that you do. You know what I mean? And it's like me working like nights isn't not overnight, but like working evenings. My workday started at like 4. It always has. I've been on that schedule, and my workday starts at like 4 or 5 p.m. or whatever. So it's like my morning was dedicated to like network marketing. So it's like you wake up and you're like sending these messages, and then you're planning your live, and then you're planning your posts, and then you're doing it on all these platforms, and then you're looking at your follow-ups, all the things. Like it's so time consuming, and none of it paid off. Like I said, I think I sold like 50 memberships. I'm pretty sure all of those were like in my first year. Like not all of them, but like most of them. I would say 40 of them were in my first year, and then like maybe 10 throughout like the rest of the time. Because again, the company was failing, and I'm sitting here for 4 more years just like doing all this work, thinking that it's me. And like as much as I say I like wish the best for my uplines and I hope that they're well, it's like information control. You never told me. Maybe you didn't know. Like maybe you didn't know. Even the upline that got me into Rank Makers, he was creating content. He was a big trainer in our company, and he was creating slideshows. He was doing events. He was doing all this, and then like a month later, the company shuts down. And he's the one who told me. And he had a falling out with another top leader because he was like, "You knew this was happening, and you didn't tell me." And it's like it goes all the way from the top. So it's like as much as like, yeah, I want the best for them. It's like everyone's pretending that things are okay when things are not okay. Everyone's pretending that they're making money when they're really not making money. And everyone's getting screwed over for the sake of what? And you're still sitting here defending the company. And like, and I knew like that indoctrination was deep too, because once I was out and someone asked me about like DreamTrips or something, or like called it a pyramid scheme or something, I was like, no, they're a legit company. Like even after this company had failed and I had the experience that I did. So they're not to blame because they have been again indoctrinated. Because I'm like, I am out and I'm pissed at WorldVentures, and I'm still sitting here defending it to some random person that just called it a pyramid scheme. Like that's where it's like, that's not me who's talking, but that's the information control. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. That's the thing. These people that are still in are like you and me. It was us in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people know. That's what I struggle with, but a lot of
Yeah.
people don't. And
A lot of people don't.
a lot of people don't, and they really believe and it's going, and I'm really concerned about when they start putting those pieces together. But it's like, thank you for just mentioning that again. It's that these people, you know, having empathy for them because they don't know. And you know what it's like, even when you get out, it's still like, I could get sucked in again. It's like, I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I know it's horrible, but it's like, you know that if you touch it, you're going to get burned, but yet you still don't really fully understand it.
100%.
And that's out, and that's taking in information and learning and all, and then knowing, and even start and seeing like physical results with your other business. And so it takes time for each person. So thank you for mentioning that again.
Yeah, I mean, I've just like found to like a couple sentences to anchor myself in, because I get so jumbled, and I like want to, I don't want to debate people, but like I want to be able to have the conversation, thinking the conversation will help, knowing that it will be with the cult identity of someone, which is why I shy away from those conversations. You know what I mean? But like, I feel so jumbled. I feel like if somebody comes up to me, like the words are just on, you know, they always talk about don't word vomit on people, but like I feel like I'll word vomit all over people about this, and I don't know if they know. I don't know if they are aware of what's happening. I don't know if they've chosen to look the other way. I don't know if they're just completely unawares. I don't want to piss them off. I do want to help them. So it's like, it's hard to maintain a stance, but like I always come back to like, I hope you get out one day. You're a good person. You know what I mean? Like, I just hope you get out, you know?
Yes. And it's weird on social media because, you know, like you read these books or you hear these like, oh, well, you know, hold space for the person. Okay. You make a post on social media. You could get like 5 DMs and 20 comments. Who the fuck do you respond to? Your upline that is like super angry. The upline from another company that is like, you're just uncoachable. Like, how do you decide to do this? Because you are one person, and it's like, you don't know, there's no playbook here on how to even deal with this. It's like you're dealing with people, like you said, like shying away from your engaging in conversation because it's the cult identity. Where are they at? I don't know. I don't know. It's like they're leaving out or like leaving a comment on the post. It's like that could be a good sign, or it could be like cult apologists. They just know exactly what they're doing and they're trying to recruit. You know, seeing my company is different. Like there's so many nuances to this of just even how to have conversations with people. And it's, and how you choose to do it is up to each individual.
Yeah. And, you know, well, I'll figure it out. I'm not in it.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. And you're not alone. Like there's more and more people too. Like I know when I was, people that were speaking out before I was speaking out, I can't even imagine like what they went through. Cause I just know like what I was
Wild
like.
West.
I had to block a lot of people and I delete messages. That's how I choose to deal with. I'll talk with people once they're already out, or they're like, they get it, they're leaving. Like when Daniela reached out to me on TikTok, she's like, I'm working on my exit strategy. Don't tell anyone. And I was just about, holy shit, like that, because I don't have the bandwidth or the gut health to like handle the conversation where it's like the same thing. My company is different. Mine's been around a lot longer, but they're not there yet. I'm not that person. I can be there for them. So I think there's like that, you know, you figure out what you can do, each person in your capacity, what feels right for you. And there's no wrong answer. Whatever it is, it's going to be helpful to someone out there.
Yeah. And you know, I kind of in my like doing things completely different than how I did them when I was in network marketing. I'm like, I don't really have a plan. I don't really want to make a plan. I'm just going to kind of
Yes, exactly.
Do it.
There's not a PMO. There's not a list. There's not like the gratitude list and then the affirmations. And then if you read Noah's
gratitude, that's
Power of
one.
Affirmations, which he learned on the freaking toilet, that I went to that at Rank Makers Live and bought that book. Oh my God. There's none of that. You get to make it up. It's like, it doesn't have to be structured. You can change your mind and say whatever. It can be like casually on, like imagine that being casually on social media. Like I'm going to respond and now I'm just not going to be on my phone for a while.
Just let them sit with what I said and just not respond. Just leave them on red for a little while. You know?
I like to, so I'll tell you something. This is the thing I like to do to kind of fuck around. I don't do it a lot because I just like to keep my conversations with people that are already leaving because I have a lot going on. So occasionally, though, I do use what we learned in Rank Makers about responding with less words than what they do. So instead of like that word vomit, because I feel like it could create cognitive dissonance because you're speaking their language. So I respond with significantly fewer words than they do. And there was somebody that was in Rank Makers when I was making these reels. I was being fucking like so obnoxious. Like I was really making fun of Ray. Like anybody would be able to tell. Like it's like this is before I was like saying it's Ray, but I'm like the person using NLP at your thing, and I'm like they're at this event. A rank maker, they're like, "Wow, this is a 180-degree thing." So I had a little back and forth, and she was putting in like less words too, and it got down. She was like, "Indeed." And so then I put an ellipses. I just put 3 dots, and I fucking won that one. You gotta have humor with this stuff, you know?
Definitely. And I think, well, like, I think you've mentioned it before, but like even saying the stuff that you're ashamed of out loud, you know, it helps eliminate the stigma around it, you know, like whether that was how much you paid for coaching or, you know, the fact that I like flew home in the middle of a freaking music festival to go to a training. Like, what is that? Like, who does that? Like, for what?
Doing a cult, it's normal behavior. It is. It's weird afterwards because, like, how could I do this? But you're right. You flew home, and that this is normal for a cult.
And you're taught also, like, all the whole pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone thing, like. And I know you've talked about it, but like, again, there's a little bit of merit to it, but like, there are so many things that I did that were so cringy that I'm like, no, that was cringe. Like that was no. You should have taken their no the first time instead of following up with them 12 more times. Like you should have just, you know, and I don't think that was pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. I think that was just doing something that my gut knew that I shouldn't. I was like, this goes against what I feel is right. It just feels icky and I shouldn't have done it, you know, like should have done it. And but now like talking about that and saying that, and then so many people in MLMs are like, oh my God, me too. And it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, we all feel that way, you know, and then like, I don't feel as bad about it after.
Yeah, it's weird. Like the thing that we're afraid to leave because we're afraid like we're not going to like everything is going to be awful out there. People are going to judge us. People hate us. We, you know, and then also there's this fear of like, oh my God, I can't believe what I was a part of. But just, you know, speaking about it, it could be journaling. It could be just talking with a friend. But once you face it, it really isn't that big a deal. That's the comfort zone. It's like the stepping out of your comfort zone. It's like, it's okay. The shame isn't there they're using the shame to control you and you're not alone. Yeah. All these people, you just say it and it's like, I feel the same way. Like that was me. Oh my goodness. I see this person speaking about it and it's so weird. It's like the whole world, I didn't expect it to fall apart, but it was such a weird, groundbreaking thing when I would see other people that have left multi-level marketing just own their stuff they did. I'm like, this is possible. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. But you're right. That is the real pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. It's not letting that shame continue to like control you, you know, and pretend like, I mean, I get it. Some people want to pretend like it didn't happen or like leave it in the past, and that's fine. But like, I've always been like, I have this activist personality. Like, like I can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm the one. I'm fighting.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, this was so good for me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. This takes it takes so much courage to speak out. And I want to thank you for being so open and honest. I really appreciate you. And I know everybody else here watching this, as the months go by, years go by, they're going to be just as appreciative. Do you have anything else that you would like to say?
Yeah, no, I just thank you so much, like, for opening your platform up. And I hope if there's anybody else that saw your post and was like, I'm ready, that they reach out to you. And because honestly, it feels great. It's a little bit, nerve-wracking or whatever at first, but like, if you feel that you want to speak out, then it'll be helpful. If you have the feeling already that you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I want to, but I don't know if I'm ready, like, this is a great way. I already feel more comfortable now, and I'm already feel like prepared to start like creating some of my own videos. And like, yesterday I didn't. I was like, you know what? I think it's good to talk to Julie first because I don't have to do it on my own the first time around. But like, it really does help. So if there's somebody out there that wants to share, I hope this also helps urge them, because the more stories that we can get out there, the better. And again, thank you so much for, giving me this platform to just kind of share my story. And like, yeah, oh my gosh, that sounded almost like what I would say in an MLM.
Well, that's what happens, right? There's the truth on the outside of this too, right?
But yes, exactly. This story is, I feel like, more powerful than the one that I was sharing for so many years. So it's worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate you.